I think you get an idea of how we can enhance things like food, portraits, and environmental portraits. But let's switch over to landscapes, and I want to show you some of the great things it can do there too. Everything okay so far, Jake? Okay. All right, let's go here and take a look at some different landscape problems. I'll start with one where there's a tough exposure. This is one of those scenes, like many, where you're trying to expose for different areas. Do I expose for the sky? Do I expose for the subject? Oftentimes, people will use high dynamic range photography for this problem, but with Luminar AI, you often won't need HDR. Working with the raw file, I can go into Edit and pull a lot out, but I'm going to start with templates. Remember, templates can analyze the content of the image and come up with different suggestions. This recognizes waterscapes, so I can get nice information there. Or it also suggested the easy landscape category. And you see how we can fill that in with long exposure, because this was a longer exposure photo. You see that ribbon on the water. But what I really want to do now is finish this. So I suggest you jump in and take advantage of Enhance. Enhance AI does a great job of balancing out that scene, and Sky Enhancer can find just the sky. Using the light tool, you're also fine to load in different profiles. So if your camera has a profile that it recommends, you can use those to create a different look. I'm also free to use Smart Contrast. In this case, I'm going to reduce the contrast, and you see how it opens up some of the muddy areas in the scene. And then we can finesse the highlight recovery as needed. Already, that's really coming to life. Now, with structure, we can bring out the selective contrast in that scene. And if I need to, I can come in with local masking and easily brush in on the water. So in this case, what I'm going to do is brush where the water is, like so. There we are. And I just want to tone down that a little bit. So I'm going to play with the warm versus cool and the overall saturation. Now in this case, notice how I desaturated the water and just put a little lift on it. What that did nicely was bring the waterfall to life. And you see how easy that is to do with brushable adjustments. All right, if we look at that before and after, that's a pretty good fix and pretty fast. Let's try another problem. We'll go to another waterfall here, and this was just one of those days that didn't work out. It was very overcast and very foggy. Now, if you're a purist, you're going to go back the second day and the third day to maybe get that picture again. But you might be traveling and don't have a chance to go back. Or maybe you're juggling your family and getting up at the right time of day is really hard because you've got responsibilities. Well, you can use sky replacement to swap the sky out with the sky that you've shot at another time or draw upon the built-in library. So I'm going to come in here and do a few fixes. Let's start with templates, and I'll set this for sunset. Notice how that really brought out those golden colors, and I like that. Now under Edit, I'm going to jump right into the Creative section and go to Sky AI. From the drop-down menu here, I could show custom skies and add my own into the library, or I could load new ones. I also can choose from some of these built-in ones as a starting point. Notice there how I could layer in new sunsets from this library, and this is going to change that image very quickly. I like these, and I think that these are really quite strong. That's feeling close to right. Let me go ahead and check a few others here for dramatic sunset. And these are really strong. What I'm looking for is one that's a little bit more moody and on the orange side. That works for me. Now you'll notice the ability to flip the sky. So if you want the light to look like it's coming from the certain direction, which I think it is now more natural, you can do that. Notice how it handled that complexity of the trees. It was able to mask around all of those trees very believably. You can also use the horizon blending here just to smooth out that transition a little bit more naturally, and that's really quite solid. Plus, while you're in here, you can take the temperature of the sky and warm or cool it as needed, and lighten or darken. I really like how that AI technology gave me flexibility to change out the sky. Remember, you can load in your own skies, and they do make a lot of other ones available for download if you need new additions. If we look at the split screen image here, I can really drag through to see that change. And I'm just truly impressed at how it was able to map in the new sky and update that. This took what was an ugly, overcast day and made this a much more interesting picture. Now, with the Pro Tools, let's finesse a few things. Make sure with optics that you make any adjustments if needed for your lens. If it's a RAW file, you can enable that. Super contrast is going to allow you to restore contrast in the shadows and the highlights. This is so much more effective than a general shadow highlights adjustment. Color harmony is fantastic. We can warm or cool the overall scene and take advantage of brilliance to bring out those rich colors. Color contrast is going to improve the dynamic range of the colors, and using split color warmth, we can warm the warms or cool the cools. So I can actually cool down those reds because they were a touch too strong, but warm up the cool areas there. And you see how the waterfall has the blue color cast removed. Really quite powerful. And if you need to, you can always go back and use a traditional color tool, so you can adjust the hue saturation as needed. Maybe I want to roll the oranges just a little bit and back off the saturation just a hint on the orange, but make the greens a little bit darker so they're not so intense. So I could pull those greens down and pull down the saturation as well in the greens and cyans. Now, what a fantastic change, giving me that ability to really finesse the photo to what I wanted it to be and not necessarily what I got the day when I woke up in the morning. All right, let's continue to explore some new areas.